Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar, Stayntouch Product Enhancements, version 5.85, link group to account, Toast POS auto service charge, and more, presented by Stayntouch implementation consultant, Natasha Leck. I'm your host, Erin Fisher, the content writer here at Stayntouch. Today's presentation will cover how you can get the most out of the Stayntouch PMS version 5.85 product release. In this webinar, we'll cover the following enhancements: the new default charge code sort order option on the comparison report, the option to sort by release date on the group rooms report, the arrival, departure, and in-house guests reports now display balance due from all bills, the AR number added to the financials custom export, how to click into from accounts into a group, how to remove a group or allotment release date after one has been set, additional enhancements to the groups and allotments modules, the seconds added to this timestamp in the rooms activity log, the option to configure multiple genders, the restrict check-in functionality logic, the fact that all available rooms are now displayed on the rooms and raid screen. Today's overdue actions are now shown as overdue. And then some additional Connect API enhancements, some Toast POS enhancements, including auto service charge and the service charge setting and mapping, as well as multi-property configuration items such as reservation type templates and room type templates. We'll have a short Q&A session at the end of the presentation, and feel free to ask any questions throughout the presentation, and we'll answer them in the order they're received at the end. And that's all I have now. I'm going to switch over to Natasha.
Thank you for that introduction, Erin. Perfect. All right, let's dive right in. So the first item on the release notes of 5.85 is that the comparison report now shows the default sort order of charge codes as set on the charge code number. So when I go into my settings, we can see under my financials and charge codes, when I use, for example, the charge group rooms, if I run my comparison report, let me just grab that report. So we go into the new report, I search for comparison, and I run my report. From my inbox, oh, I'm gonna have to wait a moment for that to load. When I go in here, under my charge group rooms as an example, the sort order that we see over here, so accommodation with tourist tax, room charge, no-show, room upgrade, is also the order that we see as per our code set up in the back end: accommodation, room charge, no-show, room upgrade. Obviously, I'm just showing rooms now as an example, but this is the case for all of the different charge groups that we see listed on our comparison report. The second item is also relating to reports, and this is for the group rooms reports. So from the menu, when I go into reports and new report, if I search for my group rooms report, we can now see that there is an additional option to also sort this by release date. So when I go to run this report, go to my inbox, and I open the report itself, I can see my groups in here, and I can see for these groups, my release date listed over here, and I can see that this is showing in order as per the release date. That is going to be the sort order. Now, obviously, I'm showing this for a new report, but when I go to schedule the group rooms report, I can see that under sort by, we also have the option for release date. Next item is also in regards to reports. We can now see that for the arrivals, departures, and in-house reports, there's going to be a new balance drop-down option. So when I go to reports, and let me just show you under arrivals, here on the right hand side, we can see the balance option for just displaying bill number 1. But when I manually adjust this to all bills, when I run the report, the balance due column will reflect the total balance from all bills on a reservation. We can see that this balance option is there for arrivals, as well as for the departure report, and then also for the in-house report. Now, when I manually update this to all bills, and I run my report, I again go to my inbox, and then for my in-house guest report, we can see, just as an example here, that we have the balance of all bills listed. Now I have a reservation in here. Let's see, for example, this 479. This reservation, that 479, is actually posted on bill number 2. So we can see here that this is the 477, and here we have 2. That total is showing in the balance column right over here next to my reservation. This is also the option for scheduled reports. So if I go to schedule the arrival, departure, or in-house report, if I go on here, I can now see that we have a balance option to do all bills. This will be the same for all those 3 reports. Another item in regards to reports, if we go to create a custom export, so we go to custom export and then new report, we can see under financials, financial transaction, that we now have a new field that has been added right here at the bottom, which is a R number. So this is now an available option here too. All right, let's move into a little bit of a different topic. When we go into our menu, under front desk, we can find our accounts. And then it's now possible within a group account to go into the group itself. So if I switch my account type to group, let's say I take this group that I have right over here. On the right-hand side, I am now able to find my group icon. And if I click on this group icon, I will now be taken into my group summary page itself. If I want to go back into my group accounts, here on the top left, there is now a button to go back into the account. So this way, here on the right-hand side, I can go into the group, and on the left-hand side, back into the account. A next enhancement is in regards to groups and allotments for having the option to remove the release date. So once a group is created, so let's go into the menu groups and manage groups. Let me pick one of the groups that is already created. Let's take this one, for example. I can see that we have a room release date here. I now have the option to remove that release date, and this will function similar to a release date never having been set. Now we can also see this for our allotments. So if I go into menu, groups, and manage allotments, under, for example, oh, I don't have one here. Let's see, do I have one with an allotment? I can see an allotment release date in this one, for example. Then I can see here that I can also remove this. Additionally to the option to remove release date, we have also made some other allotment improvements. So if a release date is configured from the summary tab, like we can see here, the option for rolling release date will be grayed out. So if I go to my allotment details and I move from contract into release dates, I can see that I now don't have the option to fill in any information here. Now, if a rolling release date is configured, so let me take this one and move on to release date. You can see here that a release date or a rolling release is set on these dates, which means that over here we can see that the allotment release date is grayed out. So it works both ways. For existing allotments, if both are configured, the rolling release date will be hidden. So for existing ones, if both the release date as well as the rolling have been set, you will not be able to see the rolling release date under allotment details. From the summary tab, let me move back into my release demo example. If I move into allotment release date here, as you can see, I am not able to click on today's business date. This will be hidden. For hotels that would set the release date to the current business date to avoid auto-releasing, we recommend that you set the release date to the departure date of the group or of the allotment, which will achieve the same result. The rolling release date configuration. So when we go back into my rolling release date example, will only allow entries for business dates plus 1 day or future dates. So if I, for today's business date, want to set, for example, a rolling release, I will get a notification that says, hey, this is not in the future, so it's been updated to the next available future date, which in this case doesn't apply. Alrighty, moving on to room status. In the rooms activity log, we can now see that seconds are added. If I go into the menu under housekeeping and room status, when checking the log of a certain room, so let me take, for example, 101, I can now see under log of a certain room that not only we see hours and minutes, but we also see seconds. The next topic is in regards to gender config. So when we are in our settings, so from the menu settings and settings again, under cards, we are now going to see the option for genders. Under genders, we will see that male, female, and other are system defined and already toggled on, cannot be toggled off. And in here, we also see other gender options that can be turned on from the side over here. Once this is enabled, if I now go on to a reservation, and I open up the guest card, I will now be able to see, I have many options enabled here. Under gender, the non-binary will display as an option that can be selected. Okay, so the next option is in regards to restricting check-in. So as per a previous release, we already know that under our settings, in reservations and reservation settings, we have the option to restrict payment types over here for check-in, and we can restrict credit card so that if we don't have an authorization, we can make sure that the check-in cannot be completed. Now, before it was the idea that if there would be no credit card on file, let me quickly create a reservation. Before the idea was that from the straight card, if you would click into the reservation and there wouldn't be or you would click on check-in, sorry, and there wouldn't be a card on file, that would be restricted, meaning that you wouldn't be able to go onto the bill itself. So now, if I go into the stay card, and let me just make sure that I add a credit card in there, because that is obviously the one that we set to be restricted. If I now click on this check-in button here, I am still able to continue onto the stay card, or sorry, onto the guest bill. From here, I need to complete the check-in. And if I want to use the card on file and my authorization is going through my desk card. Well, normally this would be the screen then, and if the authorization is not complete, it would restrict the check-in. So even though there is a credit card on file, we are able to continue when we click on the check-in option so that we can still see the bill and charges screen. Next topic is in regards to creating a reservation. So when we create a reservation, And we are using the room type view. If I move over here, beforehand, you would see a few room types and then you'd have to click to view the additional room types that would be available. Now we are able to see all room types that are available straight away. For our actions, when I have an action that is going to be overdue, if it is in the past, you can now see that it's going to display in red and it will mention the amount of hours that it is overdue. The logic behind it, we'll calculate from 0 to 59 minutes is going to be 0 hours, 60 minutes to 190 minutes is going to be 1 hour, and so on. So if I have a action that is going to be a little bit earlier, oh, let me create a new one. I add an action here, be earlier. We can see that this now will say 1 hour overdue and so on. So we can see the hours and we can see that it displays in red as well as saying overdue. All right, then there are some updates in regards to Connect APIs that we can see on our release notes. This is in regards to Connect API, new put API to support hotel loyalty member level updates. We can see this for Connect API add-ons supported in post/group input group ID. And we can see an update to Connect API's new get group ID custom group add-ons endpoint. This is all for our vendors. And if there's any information that you're interested in, we're able to see that here or reach out to us for assistance. The next topic is in regards to our Toast integration. Now, when we go into the menu settings, as we're moving on to our integrations, POS, and Toast, I just want to note that Toast offers 2 types of auto service charge, which are both now supported by Stayntouch. The setup for this is done in Toast, so this is something that will need to be done there first. When this is mapped in Stayntouch with the dedicated charge code, the auto serve charge will display on the guest bill as well as on a house account. Now, this auto service charge new functionality at the moment is only for residential charges. Keep that in mind. Now, for that service charge, we can also add mapping. The first thing that you'll see when we now move into our Toast integration, we can see here that we have a default service charge fee, which is the first type of auto charge. And we have a default service charge for gratuity. That would be the second type of auto service charge. For both of those, we need a default charge code selected over here. Once that is done, under restaurants, you will be able to do any additional mapping. Okay, the last 2 items that I want to mention are in regards to multi-property configuration. So I'm going to move on to a different screen. So let me just quickly log in. This is for my demo environment. For our properties that are using multi-property configuration, templates can now also be made for reservation types. So under configuration, and I scroll down, we can see the different templates that can be created for properties to use. And under reservations, we will now find reservation types. Reservation types are the same ones as listed. When we activate a reservation type, it is automatically activated in all properties. So when I go to activate, for example, credit card guaranteed, we will see this pop up. You're about to activate the reservation type in all properties, and these are the steps that will happen. So first, we'll check each property to see if they all have this reservation type. We'll create it in properties that don't have it, and then for all properties that have it, they will then be activated. properties won't be able to deactivate it if this activation or if this reservation type is activated from the multi-property configuration. When it is deactivated here, it is no longer automatically going to be created and activated for new properties. For the properties that do have it, it will remain on. That is going to be the moment where someone with hotel admin access will be able to deactivate it in the property itself. A lot of information. If you want to activate this reservation type, you can activate the template, and you can see that this will now be done as according to the steps that we just saw, and then we will see this be toggled on. Anything else that I looked over, just checking my notes just in case. Hotel admin can activate or deactivate reservation types that are not active on a multi-property level. Just wanted to highlight that here too. All right, then the last one is also in regards to multi-property configuration, and this is for configuration of room types. So for our templates under rooms, we can now also see that we can make the template for room types. Let's go through this process together. So when we create the template, there's going to be some fields that are going to be required for creating the room type. So we're going to have the room type name. We're going to have the code. These are both required. As you can see, max occupancy and description are not. These are features that we can toggle on from here. Then here I can decide in which properties I already want to create this, or which property will be using this template. So then you can see here that once I select one, it'll say save changes as well as send this to the selected property. And then I can create my room type template. If the room type already exists in the property, the entry will be skipped, and otherwise it will be sent to the property. Once it is created, we can see that it is syncing over here on the right-hand side. If we want to add this to the template to make sure that it is created for future future properties, we can see that over here, if I click on that option here on the side, I can now add to chain templates over here. And if I click on add chain template, it'll now be activated for future properties. Important to note, as I said, there are some fields that can be added as well from the hotel admin level once this is created. Updates that are made at multi-property level now, as it is already done, are not sent to the subscribed hotels. All right, those are all the items of the release notes that I wanted to go over today.
All right, thank you so much, Natasha. I don't see any questions right now, but I'll wait a few seconds for anyone who wants to ask a question. All right, since there are no questions, I'll take it back to my screen.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so today's webinar, we covered a few items, including the default charge code sort order on the comparison report, the option to sort by release date on the group rooms report, the arrival, departure, and in-house guest reports now display balance due from all bills, AR number added to the financials custom export, how to click from accounts into a group, how to remove the group or allotment release date after one has been set, improvements to the groups and allotments modules, the seconds added to the timestamp on the room's activity log, gender configuration, the restrict check-in functionality logic, the option to, or the fact that all available rooms are now displayed on the rooms and rate screen, today's overdue actions now shown as overdue, our Connect API enhancements, enhancements to Toast POS, and finally, multi-property configuration enhancements, including reservation type and room type templates. With that, I'd like to conclude our presentation. Thank you all for coming, and if you have any additional questions, feel free to email me at erin.fisher@stayntouch.com. Thanks again.